Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, April 23rd. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, Perlo in the house, ready to break down this Wednesday NHL card. It was another fun night of NHL playoff hockey last night. Hopefully it's a fun night once again tonight with some good games, good action. And we hope it's one tomorrow night as well for our first Stanley Cup Playoffs live betcast of the season. And it is Patreon exclusive tomorrow night, Thursday, April the 24th. Note the start time. Not 7 p.m. Eastern. I think every betcast we've ever done, or the majority of them, have been 7 p.m. Eastern. 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, we will be on with you tomorrow. That will be the first game of the night, which is Battle of Florida Game 2 between the Panthers and Lightning. We've got Battle of Ontario Game 3 as the scene shifts to Ottawa between the Leafs and Sens. And we also have Vegas, Minnesota back at XL for Game 3 tomorrow night, and then Winnipeg at St. Louis. Those are our 4 games tomorrow night. Looking forward to our first playoff live betcast, Patreon exclusive, which means you must be a Patreon member to be part of the betcast with us. $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. And again, with that, you can, of course, get all our bonus content on there, the daily betting card, goalie charts, totals charts, and, of course, access to all our Patreon exclusive live betcasts. So very much looking forward to our first of many Patreon exclusive live betcasts. Again, and it's very important to sign up if you're a betcast person, because we're only going to have 2 of our betcasts for the entire Stanley Cup playoffs free for all. We'll do one of them free in May and one of them for free in June. Everything else is going to be a Patreon exclusive live betcast the rest of the way. So make sure you get on board. $10 per month at patreon.com/iceguys, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night. Last night, we begin with obviously Carolina, New Jersey. How easy was it for Devils' goal in the first period? The angle continues to be good. And last night it was profitable once again. Betting the team to score a goal in the first period after losing the previous game of the playoff series. And obviously that came through with New Jersey. They got on the board early, 1-0. But unfortunately, they had a really good period, I thought, first period. They outshot Carolina. The makeshift defense that they had, the blue line without Dylan and Luke Hughes, and yet they had a pretty good first period on the road. But problem for New Jersey was they could never add to the lead. They couldn't get it to 2-0. And next thing you know, Carolina ties it. The building's going again. The momentum is shifting to the Hurricanes. And then, of course, Jordan Martinook with a kind of a backbreaker with that short-handed goal to make it 2-1 for Carolina. And then Carolina just put the old wet blanket, if you will, on New Jersey. A pretty solid team defensive effort. And then, of course, they put it away late into the empty net from Seth Jarvis for the 3-1 win. I thought it was a hell of an effort from the Devils, considering how short-handed and depleted they were on the back end. But again, offensively, not enough. You know, one goal is not going to win you a hockey game at this time of year, or any time of year for that matter. And Carolina gets a nice 3-1 win there to go up 2-0 in that series. Battle of Ontario, Toronto with the, I'll tell you, this game looked like it was going to be, boy, Ottawa just looks like they're in over their heads, down 2-0 before you can get comfortable in that game. 2 early goals for the Leafs, and it looked like, wow, this team is just, they're overwhelmed. But credit to the Ottawa Senators, man. Feisty, no quitting their game. I thought they got stronger. They got better as the game went on. They had a bad first period. But the second period, they were definitely in the Toronto zone much of the period. They finally got it to 2-1 with Brady Tkachuk's goal there to get it within 1. And in the third period, that Toronto started to get their game back. Toronto was just playing in their own zone too much in the second period. And I thought as that game went on, the third period, they started to get more pressure in the O zone again. And they were played a flawless, I thought, defensive third period, Toronto, even though Ottawa tied the game on the Adam Gaudette deflection, because that was the first shot of the period for the Ottawa Senators when they tied that game. So Toronto really did play a good defensive game in the third period. Kind of unfortunate that the game was tied because they didn't give Ottawa much of anything in the third period. But then you're starting to think to yourself, and of course, I told you yesterday on the show, I had an inkling we might get overtime in that game. So nice to hit the draw season alive and well, plus 330 with that. And it started to think, if Toronto loses this game and they go back to Ottawa 1-1, that's a huge shift in momentum toward the Ottawa Senators. So I felt it was a big, big overtime for Toronto to continue to make sure they have momentum and control of this series. And sure enough, they get it done. Max Domi in front of his father, his dad, Ty Domi, who was in the crowd, as he often is, I should say, for Max's games. And just a great play. And you know what? A sleepless night it will be for Drake Batherson. It was a bad, blind backhand pass right onto the tape of Simon Benoit, who really made a nice play to get the rush started for Toronto in that game. And of course, Max Domi with a nice couple of moves to avoid Ottawa players, and then rips it past Linus Ullmark for the game winner. So Toronto takes a 2-0 series lead, and at least another block added to the puzzle, if you will, of maybe this not the same old Leafs for a change as they go up 2-0 in this. Can you believe that in the Matthews, Marner, Nylander era, this was what is telling about maybe it's going to be different for this core that has not done anything in the postseason in the past. Can you believe, guys, this is the first time with this core players together that Toronto's had a 2-0 lead in a playoff series? Never happened. Never happened once for this group until now. So it was a big win for the Leafs, and now the scene will shift to Ottawa for Game 3. Obviously, last night we saw in the next game, of course, on the slate, the Battle of Florida. Let's tip our cap to the Panthers. Outstanding game. Tampa Bay was not good at all. The concerns about, this lineup back together when they've been in and out of the lineup, so many of their players, the concerns about Matthew Tkachuk, how would he be in rhythm right away? Well, he put that to rest. What a game for Matthew Tkachuk. What a game for the Florida Panthers. Very strong effort start to finish. 6-2 win over Tampa. Thank goodness I went with the over, not Tampa, because I was going back and forth right leading into the start of the show. Do I go Tampa or over? Tampa or over? With my best bet, and I chose the over, and it was a good thing. So we hit the best bet with the over, 5.5 Panthers and Lightning. And it was predictable, more so on the Tampa side, that they were sloppy and they were breaking down defensively. I mean, look at the Sam Bennett goal, the first goal of the game. You just lose coverage, and he's in alone, and he tips it past Vasilevsky. That was a breakdown. A lot of the goals Florida scored were just hard work and outworking Tampa, some breakdowns. And, unfortunately, that was that for the Tampa Bay Lightning in that game. They only had 17 shots, but put 6 goals past Andrei Vasilevsky last night in that 6-2 victory. So credit to the Panthers. They go up 1-0 in this series, and already some early pressure, if you will, on the Tampa Bay Lightning in Game 2 to try to avoid going down 2-0. Before the scene shifts back to Amarant Bank Arena in Florida for Game 3. But you would expect, it's John Cooper. It's a very good Tampa team still. They will be better in Game 2. But this was a loud statement and message from the Florida Panthers that we're ready to go and we're ready to repeat, and we're ready to at least start our charge to try to repeat. And that was a great first sign from the Florida Panthers last night. In that one. And then the last game of the night, the Minnesota Wild, fantastic effort. They dominated Vegas early. Vegas was terrible, losing coverage. I don't think it was Aiden Hill's best game, but the magic that Kaprizov and Boldy have got going right now, absolutely spectacular. We hit Minnesota to score in the first period, which made it 2-1 last night with that angle. The only team that let us down was Ottawa. Ottawa did not score in the first period, but New Jersey did, Minnesota did. So that's now 4-1 so far in the playoffs. First period goal for the team that lost the previous game in the series. So it's 4-1 after last night. We hit it with Minnesota. Goal in the first period last night. I did not take the money line because I didn't trust them to win the game, but they did. Great performance from the Wild and a nice 5-2 win over Vegas. Yes, Vegas started to finally get going later in the game. And I did actually hit a live team total over on Vegas. And I'm telling you what, and put it in our group chat. My goodness, I basically put the bet in literally 10 seconds before the goal was scored. So just, you talk about getting it in, and I got plus 120 with Vegas live team total over 1.5. I'm telling you what, live betting, open your mind to the possibilities when it comes to live betting, especially at this time of year. You can find really good, solid in-game opportunities, and you could sense it even at 4-0. Vegas was finally starting to show some life, and we were able to get in on that Vegas team total live, but it wasn't enough. Minnesota with the 5-2, and Foligno had a great game. Hartman had a great game. Boldy and Kaprizov were tremendous. Zuccarello was good as well. They just outplayed Vegas, period, especially early. And that was enough to tie the series. Minnesota, Alex, they ruined the script for a change. We're not going to be down 2-0. It's not going to be the same old story, song and dance here, the same old lullaby here for the Minnesota Wild in the first round, being down 2-0, going home for game 3. Now they're tied. Now they have momentum. XL's going to be rocking tomorrow night. And this series has taken on a bit of a different complexion now, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The game that you saw in game 2 last night was the game that I kind of anticipated we would see in tomorrow's game 3 back at home, because we've seen that from the Wild. Like I said, historically, whenever they are in a playoff series, they have their struggles on the road, but as soon as they get back home, that's usually their big, grand game, usually of the entire series. Whether they end up winning the series or oftentimes they end up losing the series, that game 3 at home is always a big spot. So now to have momentum off of a win, capturing a win, not just on the road, in a hostile environment, no less, like Timo Marina, they took that crowd out of that game early. You score goals early. And now, like I said, I'll talk about it till I'm blue in the face from now until June about how important that is for a road team, especially down in a series, especially when you're in one of those stronger home ice environments like T-Mobile. To get goals early, take that crowd out of it, that helps a lot, and it helps get momentum on your side. So now they get the shift seeds back here in St. Paul, have the crowd on their side. That's huge, and this it changes everything for the series now. So that 12-1, 14-1 look I had for the series to go game by game, it goes down the way, but there's still a lot of life left. In Vegas, like you said, haven't played well on the road during the regular season. But we've seen these teams now, especially these experienced playoff teams, through the first 3-4 days of the playoffs. We've seen them rise to those occasions and play at a better level, just like Florida. Florida's a team that was basically playing dead in the water for 2 weeks. And now to get Tkachuk back, Tkachuk playing fine. And keep in mind, Tkachuk's injury is different than some of these injuries we'll be talking about today. We've got 2 big players in a couple of games coming back from long-term injuries, very long-term injury in the case of Gabe Landeskog. That's a little different than just seeing where Tkachuk's been out for 2 months, played his hardest hockey last during the 4 Nations break, and now he's rocking and rolling back in the lineup. So it was a little bit smoother of a transition for him, as we saw by him scoring in Florida, playing a great game. May not be as smooth for some of these other guys getting back in the lineup tonight.
No, that is true. Perlo, what do you think of last night?
The Jersey game, I was glad they got the first goal, and you got that bet. We got that bet because I bet Carolina right after that. I didn't believe there was any chance that New Jersey was winning that game, and I was hoping that Jersey would score first, and they did. Could have waited, as it turned out, to bet it. I probably would have got a better price, but I bet it right away. I bet them in regulation for plus money, so it worked out really well that way. The Minnesota game, that goes to show you what happens when Vegas' system breaks down. The last thing Vegas wants is for players to be able to go out to skate up the middle, because Hill is not a good one-on-one goalie. He's not. He's got holes one-on-one like crazy. Their whole system is built around defense, setting in spots to make Hill look good, because Hill is not a great goaltender. He never has been. He might have been one of the worst goaltenders to win a cup, which he sort of did with 5 different goaltenders. But if you give them open spots like that, they don't need many shots, and they didn't have many shots to score. And that's what happened yesterday. I personally just had the draw in that game. I didn't like that game all that much. My big play was, and I mentioned it in the chat, I had 5 units on that Stutzla over 1.5 shots. That was my big play. That was like 95.
One thing that hurt me in that Minnesota game was Braden McNabb didn't have the block shots we thought.
Yeah, I didn't get the block shots for the McNabb, but I didn't have as much on that as well. But that game didn't go as I thought it would. I thought Minnesota had a chance in that game, but I honestly didn't see that kind of a breakdown. And I'm a little bit worried about Vegas when in that situation there. They look nervous, which was really odd. That's not something you normally see from Vegas. They're usually very, you don't see them get nervous too often, and they look nervous in that game. So I'm going to be interested to see how that series goes down the road. I think they're in a bad spot now in Minnesota. Now, I didn't bet this series before the series started, but I'm seriously considering throwing something on Minnesota right now to win this series now.
I got to admit, I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah,
I'm kind of in
they're
the
getting
same boat. I'm not there
plus
yet.
money on it.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't notice that it was, but it probably was. Minnesota made adjustments to freak them out.
I said in our season preview, or not season, playoff preview show, Burlow, if Vegas had gotten anybody but Minnesota, I would have been maybe fading them in this first. I was never a believer that Vegas is just going to roll right through the West. I know there's some people that thought that, but I saw too many inconsistencies in their game throughout the course of the season. But I said, they got Minnesota. They'll certainly beat Minnesota. Now I'm not even sure about that anymore. I can't say they'll certainly beat Minnesota right now.
Yeah, well, I was one of those people because I just thought that Vegas maybe were practicing, like they were kind of floating through the season, and I wanted to see what it would look like. But I see the same thing as I saw during the regular season now. Now I like Minnesota a lot more. I like Minnesota to possibly take that. And as far as Toronto is concerned, Toronto in third periods and stuff, I don't know what they were doing going to a 1-3. They can't win on a 1-3-1. They don't have the players for that. They got to stick to their man-on-man defense, be on people all through all three zones. If they don't, especially to a team like Ottawa, they're going to dump and chase, and they're going to be able to get shots on you, and that's pretty much what they did. You can't float back like that. It's not a team that can do that. There are teams that can do that. Toronto ain't one. Even with Tanev and the defensemen that they have there, their forwards are not built for that. Nylander doesn't know what the heck he's doing in a 1-3-1. Are you kidding me? You probably wouldn't be able to write it down on paper if you asked him to. So, yeah, it's I didn't like it. I didn't like that.
He's not there to do that. He's there to score, though.
Yeah, exactly.
He's really
but he's got to be on the ice, and they have a lot of players that are like that. So it's not. I was surprised to see them go that way. I don't know if the coach was saying, "Hey, what are we doing? We didn't do this before." If they were just playing nervous or what, I don't know what happened. But I hope you don't see that again. But because Ottawa could take it if they play that kind of passive type game in second or thirds, because they just don't have the game for it. But it was a great night. I did very well. Except for did you guys stay right to the end of that Vegas game? I didn't. I was sleeping.
Well, I always go to bed after 2 a.m. So by default, I watched it right till the end. Yeah. I never go to bed until after 2 a.m. Eastern anyway, every night. So.
It wasn't. I was saying it didn't hang that late. It was 12:30, 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern when it wrapped up. So.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. Like I said, it was a very interesting night. I'm trying to see if I can find it here, but there was a funny moment, I guess you will, last night with in the Toronto game with Mark Savard getting a little too excited about one of the Leaf goals, and Craig Berube right beside him was like, "What the fuck are you doing, man? Calm down. It's like it's first period, man. Don't get so excited." It was there it is. There we go. We'll put this out. This is really funny shit here. This was from last night, as far as the game last night with the Leafs and Sens. All right, here we go. So this was during the game. This was after one of the goals, and Mark Savard's getting all excited, and rightfully so, because I got to hold on one sec. We got to put this in the other browser. But it was a hilarious moment, which tells you that that's probably why Berube's won a cup. And people will say, let your assistant coach get excited. Let your assistant coach show some emotion. But Craig Berube's been around the block. He knows, 2-0 lead in the first period. You never get that excited over it. So here it is right now. This was last night. We'll get it full screen here. This was during one of the goals. Hilarious stuff. Mark Savard gets all pumped up, 2-0 lead, and Craig Berube just, looks at him like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, chill out." It's early in the game. Here it is. Watch. It's pretty funny shit.
Reaction to the 2-0 goal in game one. Mark Savard fired up, looking for Rubin. What are you doing? We're not even 10 minutes into
Just
the
turns out
chaos.
like,
Relax,
what the fuck are you
relax.
doing?
The
Yeah.
water-
Get that excited. That tells you
Yep.
that's the guy that's been around the
That's
block.
hilarious.
And,
Yeah.
and wait, another key moment too that tells you, one, Berube has been around the block. Two, he knows exactly what's needed at the right time. When that game was tied up, they call that timeout. Now, granted, they were also giving the guys upstairs time to look at that goal back on that they thought they may have been offsides there. But that was a perfect time to call a timeout. Sheldon Keefe would not have called that timeout in that spot. The previous Leafs teams would have just let that roll on, and then we
Good
would have
point.
seen Ottawa make that a 3-2, 4-2 lead. That was one of those moments where I said, "This is something different we're seeing from Toronto."
And it
So
got
like I
everybody
said,
to calm down a bit too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you
Berube knows he has the expectations of the fan base, that team, that organization. He knows to keep everybody calm and level-headed. He's the perfect guy right now for that job, and it's proof is in the pudding with the 2-0 lead.
no doubt.
Well, one other thing was I was hoping you were right about that Tampa game because I was going to jump on Florida to win the series. I already have a little bit on them, but I wanted Tampa to win the first one. I just think Florida's top nine. You're never going to convince me unless they completely run out of gas. A two-way team, the way they play that system, I just don't think Tampa has.
My concern level for Tampa Bay grew exponentially after last
Sure.
night because I thought
Yeah.
that was definitely a spot that they could have jumped on Florida, and it was anything but that. And it
Yeah.
looks like that Paul Maurice played his cards well down the stretch, resting Barkov, resting Reinhart, resting Bennett, resting multiple players down the stretch to make sure they got fresh legs, live legs to begin the Stanley Cup playoff journey, which would be their third straight journey to the Stanley Cup final if they do it. But they got a little extra gas now because of the rest down the stretch that they got.
Possible.
So, yeah, we'll see. They looked like it last night. There's no doubt. But just one game that I'm fascinated by tomorrow night on that betcast, though, with game 2 of that series. All right, next up, we've got let's get to Wednesday and the 3 games. 3 games tonight. We'll begin with Montreal, Washington. Washington minus 180, home favorites, 5.5 the total. Series lead for the Capitals, 1-0. Although the 5.5s are disappearing. I'm seeing it move to 6 here in this game. I am on the over by Fecta here. I know the Washington first period over did fall short in game 1. It's still a great long-term angle going back to the regular season. And there were chances for 2 goals. Did you see the pace of that first period? Don't be fooled that it was 1-0 Washington. There easily could have been a second or third goal in that opening period. So I like over by Fecta. I like Montreal in the to score in the first period. We're going to take that again. It's been good. It's 4-1 in the postseason as far as goal in the first period so far for the team that lost the previous game in the series. And, of course, Montreal, hell of an effort in game 1 to battle back, tie it before Ovechkin got the game-winning goal and lost in won in overtime, I should say, 3-2. I thought Montreal, there's a lot of positives you can take. They withstood the early punch from Washington. Montembeault kept them in it, got the game tied, and could have obviously won it in overtime. Suzuki played well. Now, the mistake Marty St. Louis made in overtime, and I said it in the recap of game 1, you can't have Laine and Demidov together on the ice in a defensive zone face-off in overtime. That's defensive liabilities. That's 2 guys that just are way below average defensively. Demidov, I excuse him for it because it's his 4th or 5th game in the National Hockey League in his career. He's got some maturing to do defensively. Laine, that's inexcusable. We know this guy's not a defensive player. Not at all. Not even close. He has zero business being on the ice for a defensive zone face-off in that overtime. And sure enough, you lost it. This guy was soft on his man. What else is new from Laine? And sure enough, it goes to Ovechkin in front, and he puts it home for the overtime. That's where Marty St. Louis showed a little bit of inexperience in postseason coaching there with that moment. Just bad stuff. Can't happen. And unfortunately for Marty St. Louis, it burned him in overtime the other night. So for me, over by Fecta. But the bet I like the most, I don't love the over by Fecta. That'll be smaller. I like Montreal goal in the first period. I do think they got a chance to get on the board opening 20 minutes. An angle that is 4-1 so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Alex, what do you think here? Canadians, Capitals.
Yeah, as far as having Laine, like I said, in a defensive spot in a key situation, you have to stop using the lawnmower to water the grass. That's not his game. Quit asking him to do that. Quit trying to expect him to change. For 10 years now, he's not. He plays one-way hockey. Put him in one-way situations. It's saying he's not a playoff guy. He certainly could be a playoff guy if you
If he
put him in the
scores,
right
yes,
position.
he is.
Right.
But if
And
he's
you
not
and you
scoring, he adds nothing to the hockey team. It's just that
right.
simple. It's
And
not
you
being
have to
harsh.
utilize
It's
him that
being
way.
real and giving facts. Yeah.
It's the same way when you have teams utilize when they have weak center depth. They have a third line center who's great at faceoffs. They'll move him up to the top line to take key faceoff wins. He's not there to score goals. He's not there to set up plays. He's there to win the fucking faceoff. So you have to use line in that sense. And if that hamstrings you to an extent, then so be it. But you'll have to do a little bit of extra shuffling around. And he's worth it offensively. That's the issue. That's why it's so frustrating. You wish he could just give you a shred more defense because of how good he is and how important he is on the offensive end. But it's not going to happen anytime soon. And you certainly can't try and pigeonhole him into key situations like that right now in the playoffs. It's too late for that. If he was going to start blocking shots and shit, it should happen now. But if he's not doing it right now, then move on and adjust accordingly. But with that being said, I think we see back and forth pace here early. I like the first period over. I like both teams to score, but I'm treading lightly here as we've seen that total move from 5.5 to 6. I can wait and see where exactly the pace is going because maybe we get goals early and then maybe this slows down a little bit late, or maybe this just kind of goes back and forth like a couple of those games we've seen over the week. So I will be on first period over in both teams to score. Everything else I'll be looking for in game.
All right, nothing wrong with that for sure. So, like I said, there's definitely something to look at here. And like I said, Montreal to score in the first. I'm tempted by the draw again in this game because I think we could. Now, I don't love overtime and back-to-back games in a playoff series, so I can't say that I'm really enjoying that by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I like Beauvillier. Now, I got to admit, he scored the other night. I don't. I'm not a big Beauvillier guy because he's not exact. He's been underwhelming the last couple seasons, but he had some good years in the Island. And look, he's playing with two guys that are gifted offensively with Strome and Ovechkin. He could almost walk ass backwards into a goal. So Beauvillier with Strome and Ovechkin. Like I said, it's probably worth a look. Strome assist has been almost automatic, and he said on Spit and Chicklets recently when he was on that show after Ovechkin broke the record. I'm almost purposely always looking for number 8 every time I have the puck on my stick. So he's not looking to shoot. He's looking to facilitate. He's looking to pass. And we saw it in game 1, too. So Dylan Strome assist has been tremendous. I certainly wouldn't argue with that. Tom Wilson, even though he didn't score the other night, I still think he's the kind of player that can make an impact at that end of the ice. I'd say Dowd and maybe Lars Eller seems to score against Montreal when Washington plays them. Some again, former Hab way back when, so don't mind that. Caulfield, he got one of the goals the other night, and he's also and Perlo might bring this up because of he's more of a shots on goal better than I am. Caulfield's been a good shots on goal guy for Montreal recently, current form wise, and could continue here once again here tonight as well. So maybe look in that direction as far as Caulfield in various forms. And Suzuki just finds ways to score almost every game, and this goes back to when Montreal to go on that run to get into the playoffs. So hard to argue with Nick Suzuki, the captain, as a goal prop candidate for this game tonight. Perlo, what do you think here? Montreal, Washington.
Yeah, I'm not different when it comes to the first period. I like that first period over and probably Montreal to score. But if you do like Montreal to score, I don't think Washington's going to go 2 games in a row without scoring in the first period. So, and there's another stat I have here that is pretty telling. And it just because it didn't work out last time doesn't mean it's not going to work out here. Montreal is 4-22-16 in first periods on the road this year. They're not good on road first period. So I'm going to go team total. I'm going to go both teams to score. I'm going to take that Montreal to score so I can cover myself in case the same thing happens again. And I'm going to take Washington puck line first period. So you're looking at 2-1, 3-1. We're looking at something, a lot of goals in the first period here. I don't think Washington was actually really happy with their play last game, to tell you the honest truth. I think that they have a lot more to give. I think they still want to get back to the way they were like you were talking about when you're talking about the series, which Washington team are we going to get? And I think we're eventually going to get it. I just trust this coach too much. And I think you might start to see it a lot more here. So I like Washington in regulation in this game. I just think this is going to be a tough spot for Montreal. The hard thing, if you watch that game, it's hard to get inside on these Washington Capitals team.
Yeah.
They're big, they're solid, they have a big defense, and when they're playing their system really well, it's tough for those small forwards in Montreal to get in. So they might score one in the first period, but I don't see them scoring much more than that. If they do get that one in the first period, I'm going to live bet the team total under for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to reserve that now. I'm not going to bet it now. I'm going to wait to see if they can score one in the first period. I'm going to go team total under. I got a sliver on team total over for the Washington Capitals as well. This just feels like a kill spot to me. We'll find out if I'm right. And I have, as far as props are concerned, you mentioned Caulfield. Caulfield's great, but the one guy that is consistently, and I love taking him because he never gets like lots of shots, but he always gets over the shots at the same time. So the money doesn't change. You get great value on it. And that's Slavkovsky over 1.5 shots. Minus 125. The guy goes over 9 out of 10 times. He's a really good. Is a really good player for shot props. Also, Carrier. I was going to see who was going to be the shot blocking machine for Montreal. Savard always is good. I got a little bit on Savard over 1.5, but Carrier was a shot blocking machine last game, and I think he's going to continue on taking
4
that.
straight games, by the way, for Uri Slavkovsky over that 1.5. Just
yeah,
put that out there.
Yeah. He's really good at getting just a couple shots a game. You can get that at plus 120, and Suzuki, of course, anytime goal. And I might have also take him over shots. I think he had 7 last game. And they're going to him. And it's obvious St. Louis, like, because earlier in the at the end of the regular season, he was passing off a lot. He was really passing off a lot. And I think St. Louis says, look, it's the playoffs now. You got a killer shot. You get in that slot, you shoot, because we can't hang out in the slot all day with this team. You got to get it and get it away fast. And Suzuki's got an amazing shot, and he's been shooting. So take him over 2.5 shots. Take him for a goal, and is that all I had for the props? Yeah. So yeah, those are my plays. I like Washington in regulation. Oh, and at the end of the show here, I might have something on this one too.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, Dylan Strome, if as far as assist makes sense. Ovechkin goal, yes. Wilson goal. Wilson over shots. It's a little juicy with Tom Wilson, but it's 1.5. It's not 2.5. It's 1.5. He's also gone over 1.5 shots on goal in 4 straight games.
I forgot to mention. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's a little more juicy. You know, the better value is the one you mentioned at that over 1.5 Slavkovsky, where it's only minus 125.
The only thing with that one, have fun sweating it, because he gets one in the first, and then you're sitting there all game waiting for him to get the second one. But he seems
definitely those are the streaking shots on. I've got the numbers right in front of me, so I'm going to start doing that, especially now that we're into games 2 and beyond of this series. We're going to get some real shots on goal trends. Again, I'm leery of betting that stuff, but certainly it's still worth mentioning for those that do. All right, next up, we've got Dallas and Colorado. Colorado minus 190, home favorite. Look at this line. It's just climbed because it didn't open minus 190. It opened closer to minus 165 or so with Colorado. It's moved to minus 190, 6.5 the total, shaded to the under. Series tied 1-1. Obviously, Dallas with a hugely important series tying win in game 2, courtesy of Colin Blackwell in overtime. And I said, Dallas not out of this series yet. Now, what Dallas is going to have to do tonight, if they hope to take the lead in this series and win this game, they're going to have to withstand an avalanche, corny pun intended. They're going to have to withstand an avalanche of momentum and emotion early in this game, because we know Gabriel Landeskog will be returning to an NHL game, to the Colorado Avalanche, not the Colorado Eagles, the Colorado Avalanche, for the first time in 3 years. And just the captain of the team, everything he's been through off the ice to rehab and rehabilitate and get himself back into a position to be back in the lineup for Colorado. You know that they're going to be just, it's almost like they're going to have space blasters under their skates early in this game, Colorado. You know they're just going to be flying. And it's going to be up to the Dallas Stars to withstand what I'm sure is going to be a big-time early push from the Avs at home, especially after losing Game 2 in overtime. And that's going to determine if they're going to have a chance to win this game, Dallas. If they're down 3-4-0 and the Colorado Avalanche just blitz them in the first period, that's going to be tough to come back from. But if they can withstand what I'm sure is going to be Colorado's going to carry the play in the first period. I'd be shocked if they don't. It's going to be very important that they just withstand that, and they're down by a goal in a worst case scenario after the first period. And if they're only down by a goal, they're very much still live in the game. But that's going to be the critical element. I find Colorado early is the best way to approach it. If you like Colorado, I think the first period is just a better target, in my opinion, because I do expect in the first 20 minutes, with the emotion of having the captain back after such a long absence and everything he's been through and everything he's had to endure to get back to this point, you're going to see Colorado with playing a hell of opening 20 minutes. Plus, you've got the 4-1 angle in play here. Team off a loss, scoring a goal in the first period. I'm not betting the pregame total on that because you're talking about minus 200. With Colorado to score in the first period. You can't do that. So unfortunately with this one, I have to wait for a live bet. I did take a small position with BetMGM, which has the half goal increments right now on the over 1 at plus money team total in the first period for Colorado. And what I will do is if, and it's a big if, because I think they're going to be flying early, the Avs, if we can get enough minutes of Colorado not scoring in the opening period, we're going to get a live Colorado to score in the first period at a better price. And we'll bet it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. As a Bill O'Reilly clip from back in the day. That's what we'll do, because I'm sure as hell not laying minus 200 pre-period here with the Colorado first period team total. The angle says bet it 4-1 so far, but we're going to see if we can get a better price on that live during the first period. This is one where, look, I was on the over by Fecta in game 1, didn't hit. Actually, it did hit. The full game hit over 5.5, 5-1 Colorado. I came back to it in game 2, the over by Fecta, and it cashed. I don't know what I think the first period over could be, I like more than the full game over, but the problem is the price that you're seeing with that too. So, pre-game, I'm just not in love with the price with anything, quite honestly. Because the over for the first period's up to actually minus 130 at a couple spots. So I probably will take a small slab of the pregame over 1.5 first period at that point. Colorado team total first period. I'll look for a live look in this game. We'll see how that goes. Even Colorado, and I did bet Colorado team total over 3.5 here in this game pregame. Sorry to make Matt upset saying that, but yeah, I just feel Colorado, I don't probably wins this game, but like I said, I have no interest in minus 190 with the Colorado Avalanche. So I've got just a piece of the over 1 team total with the Avs first period. Look for a live over 0.5 if we get it at a good price. Full game team total over 3.5. First period over, small full game over, and we will watch this game. And here's my plan. If Dallas survives the onslaught of the opening period in this game, especially if it's only tied after the first period and they're not trailing by more than 1 or 2, I'm going to be seeing how they come out in the second period. And if Dallas regroups and they're starting to get their footing under them and they're starting to level the playing field a bit, let's assume Colorado's carrying the play in the first. Dallas then levels the playing field in the second. You can see they're having good shifts in the O-zone. They're still only down a goal or 2 at the time. I'm going to be interested in a live draw or live Dallas team total, maybe, which I did with Vegas last night in the game against Minnesota. So this would have been a great betcast game because so much of my betting interest in this game is going to be live. There's only a few dabbles pregame for me with what I mentioned, but we're going to be really gauging this one closely from a live betting standpoint. Alex, your thoughts here on a very intriguing Game 3. Dallas has the momentum, a massive Game 2 overtime win, but now they go back to Denver, and Colorado's getting Landeskog back in the lineup, and you know that's an emotional lift and charge for them, and it should maybe deliver hopefully as good a game as we saw in Game 2. What do you think, Stars Avs?
Yeah. Absolutely. And and if you have live looks on this game, if this looks like a live betting game to you, don't feel bad about that. That's the beauty of the playoffs. Sometimes there's games where you look at things and you see, oh, these prices, I like these spots, but I don't like these prices.
Yeah.
Just go on and make that a live betting game. That you're better off, even if you're playing less money and you split it up amongst more things you like in the game rather than having a pregame position just for the sake of having a pregame position. It doesn't make sense. Get the best price and value on everything you're betting. That being said, I like this game for Colorado. This series now has that kind of almost NBA-like zigzag feel to it. I can see Colorado coming out, guns blazing, scoring first, pushing the pace and tempo and winning this game, and then Dallas countering right back in Game 4. So I'm on Colorado here. I got regulation minus $1.10 late last night. I also grabbed even money on Colorado to score first goal in the first period. Like I said, you can wait live. So you just grab Colorado to score at any time in the first period. But I'm just going to grab that. Seeing plus money at FanDuel. BetMGM has minus $1.02. DraftKings has that minus $1.05. FanDuel has it at even money. So please shop around and get the best of that. But that's those are my two looks. I like Colorado to win this game. I think Landeskog and like I said, prefaced at the beginning of the show, Landeskog being back in this lineup, which, by the way, Jared Bednar says we'll see in quotes, meaning more than likely he's going to play. But
he's going to
him
play.
back
He's
in
be
the
with
lineup.
Boyle and Kiviranta, by the way, on the third line from the looks of things. Yeah,
and exactly that's what I'm saying. He's on the third line. They're probably going to, we're going to see his minutes, maybe restricted. If this game gets a little physical, it wouldn't shock me that maybe we see him reshuffled to the fourth line or another line where he's not playing as many minutes. He's not going to be in the middle of those scrums. I'm sure Bednar and all the coaches have told him if there's any kind of jostling back and forth, you skate your ass the fuck out of that pile and don't risk getting hurt because, we want to have you here. And any momentum you have from him back in the lineup, you crush it instantly if he goes and gets hurt right away. So that's the last thing you want to have. If you're looking at this from a positive momentum moment, he's got to stay on the ice. That's got to be the biggest thing. He may not chip in with a goal right away. I wouldn't be betting him for points or anything like that tonight. I would have to wait and want to see him get his legs really underneath him. 2 AHL games isn't really enough to get back into the simulation of being in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs after 3 years. That's a lot to ask of any player of any skill. So I would say just tread lightly with looking at everything Landeskog, but I do think it's enough to where the Avs get the series lead here.
Especially with the severity of his injury and how long it's kept him out. So yeah, no question. Don't expect him to part the Red Sea or anything like that tonight. Gabe Landeskog here in his Colorado Avalanche return to the lineup. And just briefly on a couple of prop notes for this particular game. Granlund, Hintz, and Dadonov, Marchment, Duchesne, Sagan, Ben, Johnston, Rantanen still looks like the top 9 going into this game for Dallas. So, it's certainly value with Granlund and Dadonov. Harley, we saw, had a really good game, so maybe look in that direction. For Colorado, Lehkonen, he's just a playoff performer, in my opinion. He's been very good for this team in the postseason. I think Drouin, Nelson, and Nichushkin, especially with last line change for Colorado, might be able to see them get rolling a little bit. So don't mind them for anything as far as goal, assist, or points. And then for the shots on goal, the ones to notice here is we've got now it's big juice, but Wyatt Johnston's gone over 1.5 shots, 5 straight games. Nate McKinnon, first of all, Nathan McKinnon just rips the puck and shoots the puck a shit ton on home ice here at Ball Arena. Over 3.5 at minus 148. 4 straight games, McKinnon has gone over his shots prop. At 2.5, Mikko Rantanen, and it's plus money. And remember, this is his old team, so he kind of wants to beat them, you would think. Rantanen's gone over 2.5 shots, 3 straight games, and it's plus money on that over 2.5 on Mikko Rantanen. Hintz, 3 straight games over 1.5 shots, and his is only 1.5. So there are some decent options here in that regard. Perlo, what do you think for Game 3, Dallas, Colorado?
Yeah, there's several factors here that have me on Colorado, and Alex mentioned a couple of them. Landeskog coming in on the ice doesn't really make much of a difference, I don't think, here, but in energy it certainly does. They don't take like a week off and don't play regular season games to go watch a guy if they don't love that guy. And he is going to bring an energy. It's going to bring a positivity to this team. Dallas, the last game, they needed that second game, and they exerted a hell of a lot of energy to win that game. I think that although they've had some time to rest a little bit, if Colorado's coming out full bore here in this game, I don't think they have much of a chance. That defense is it's still bad. They played hard. The forwards had to play really hard on the stick that last game. So, yeah, I like Colorado here in regulation. I also like the team total over, and I like the first period plays you're talking about. I have a bargain bin to do with that coming at the end, but I also like first period puck line. I would it's not what you would normally like, but I just think it's such a good play that I'm going to play it at plus 135, and then I'm going to hope they can wait a little bit to score in the first period and get it even at a better price and throw a little bit on that. And I know we can't play Colorado to score in the first, but we can play them to score two. And you can get that at plus 165. So I'm playing that as well. I got everything Colorado here. As far as the props, you mentioned a couple. Head over to Perlo's NHL POW on Twitter. We have to keep the show down a little bit, and you know how I am with props, so I can go all day with it. So you'll get them all over there at my Twitter if you go join the community, and I'll send you all my best bets and my best props for today for this Colorado game. The Lindell, somebody mentioned it. That's always a good play still. It's just juicy now. They caught up to it. It's minus 140 for him to get over 2.5 blocks, but I still like it.
No doubt. All right, good stuff indeed with that. And by the way, shout out to the guys. I mean, this is going to be their fourth game in 4 nights broadcasting for ESPN. Bob Wischusen and Callahan Auto Parts. Their fourth game in 4 nights, concluding tonight with this game. So that's a lot. That's a lot on the voice. I know from doing that shows every day. So good stuff there. All right, final game of this Wednesday NHL slate: Edmonton Oilers, Los Angeles Kings. Los Angeles minus 125, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Although I wanted to mention that the 5.5s have almost disappeared. So this is critical for what I like in this game. I didn't touch the total in game 1. And I was just basically, it was like walking through a minefield for me in game 1. And I just found all the ways to avoid the mines and getting my foot blown off. You know, that's basically it with game 1, because I thought it was going to be a low-scoring game 1, and it wasn't. But I did have L.A. To shut out Edmonton in the first period, which they did. And, in fact, they played a great 2 periods of defensive hockey there, in my opinion, the L.A. Kings. They completely shut down. They completely bottled up Edmonton. They had 2 shots on goal in the second period. That was it for the Edmonton Oilers in that period. And then all hell broke loose in the third period. Now, Draisaitl's late second period goal, which got Edmonton their first goal, it was 4-0 LA. It looked like it was over. Got it to 4-1. You still really didn't think Edmonton was going to get back into that game. But boy, oh boy, they got an early one in the second, 4-2. And then LA got a 5-on-3. They made it 5-2. And it looked like, well, there goes the comeback bid. And sure enough, 5-3. Sure enough, 5-4. And then, of course, McDavid tying it, 5-5. And we think it's going to overtime at that point because there's a minute left. And then here's Philip Deneau rescuing the Kings in regulation, and they win just a crazy game 1, 6-5. So my first thought was they're going to tighten things up here tonight. Got to bet under. But then you look at series history in the playoffs with these two teams, and it's undeniable. They have played 19 playoff games head-to-head with one another, the Oilers and the Kings. This is their 4th straight year in the first round facing each other. 19 previous playoff games head-to-head. 15 of the 19 have had at least 6 goals. 15-4, you would be betting over 5.5 between these two teams in the playoffs. In this time that they've played each other, 3+ years now. 15-4 to the over 5.5 between these two teams. So I'm on over 5.5. It's just, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I think you're an idiot if you do. It's just one of these situations where 15-4, to the full game over 5.5 with 19 games. And the more I look at it, Edmonton, when you look at the lineup changes tonight, they're putting out a more offensive lineup and a worse defensive lineup. They are. They're already without Matthias Ekholm, who is their best defensive defenseman. It's not even close. And they're already compromised defensively because of that. And Chris Knobloch decides tonight, I'm taking Josh Brown, brawn and physicality, and at least a somewhat of a defensive presence out, and I'm putting John Klingberg in. John Klingberg, who is a soft defenseman, doesn't clear anyone out in front of the net, is a liability defensively, always has been. Even when he was with Dallas, he's good puck moving and power play. He's got great stuff on that end of it, but he's just not good defensively. And it's worse now than even when he was actually okay at times with Dallas. He can't defend at this point in time. And after all the injuries too, he's a turnover machine as well. And that's who's in the lineup on the blue line now for Edmonton tonight in place of Josh Brown. So they're going with Darnell Nurse, Evan Bouchard, Brett Kulak, Ty Emberson, Jake Wallman, and yes, John Klingberg. They're a worse blue line with John Klingberg. Defensively, they're a worse blue line. There's no question about that. So that's not good for the unders. That's not good for trying to shut down LA. And Evander Kane is back. Now, who knows what we're going to get? Kachuk's a different animal. He's just wired differently. He can come back from months away and be dominant and be great. I'm not sure about Evander Kane. We'll have to wait and see on that. All things aren't created equal. We'll see if he can make an impact, but it's been a long time since that guy's played hockey. And it's his first game all year, and you're throwing him into the fire here in a Stanley Cup playoff game. So let's see how Evander Kane handles it tonight, playing with the Nuge and Zach Hyman. And Chris Knobloch is loading up his top line. He is putting Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl together on the top line with Corey Perry here tonight. So very, very interesting. Yeah, Klingberg will make Bouchard. That's a scary prospect, Jonathan. It's a
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's true. So I like over 5.5 here. I didn't bet the first period over though, because I feel kind of like the last game. It could be a little tentative start after a 6-5, crazy game like the other night. But I think the full game gets there. I will trust the full game over to get there. I don't like this Edmonton blue line defensively as much with John Klingberg there. Obviously, Bouchard had his problems in game one. He basically gifted LA one of their goals. He set up the goal. It was a great assist. They should have put assisted by Evan Bouchard, on one of those goals for LA the other night. So, and Evander Kane is obviously going to boost them offensively. So I find Edmonton's made changes to their lineup to score more, and they made changes on their blue line to be worse defensively. That's the way I see it with the lineup changes they've made going into this game here tonight. Then you factor in 15-4 for the over 5.5 between these two teams in the playoffs in the 19 head-to-head matchups over the last 3-4 years. And I think 5.5, it's just, you got to just run with it. There's just somehow a lot of goals when it's Edmonton versus Los Angeles in the playoffs. So over 5.5 is my only pregame bet. I've got the Kings in the series. I don't need to bet them tonight. I like them in game one. I'm going to lay off tonight, given the fact that Edmonton's probably going to push back, but I would take LA before Edmonton still. This is a pretty cheap price for a team that's been absolutely dominant at Crypto.com arena all year. So lean Kings for sure. Can always take, and I will be. You can write this down. I will be on Kings at any plus money I can find if they're trailing at any point in this game. That I would be interested in. Alex, what do you think here? I mean, how do we follow up game one with these two teams? That was just absolutely bonkers. But here we go, game two, Edmonton, LA.
I think game two is going to be a pretty interesting encore. I don't expect it to be the same kind of style of scoring as far as where it's lopsided all LA and then Edmonton roaring back. I think it's going to be a little bit more balanced, but I do like goals here. I'm on the over trifecta. I do believe that even with LA, and I was on LA first period puck line in game one, and that was based on that heavy trend of where 20 of the last 23 games now, LA at home, holding their opponents to less than a goal. I think that changes here. Edmonton has to press back. They have to score early. They have to just get their confidence going about, and that's going to involve them getting on the board within the first 20 minutes of play. So grabbing plus 170 with both teams to score, you only land $1.22 with the over 1.5. I grab both of those along with that over 5.5, and those are my pregame bets as well. Like I said, I have positions and things with LA. So I'll be looking to bet live in game, nothing on the side. I don't even have the draw here pregame, just those with the over trifecta.
All right, good stuff. Like I said, I was stunned. I mean, I definitely knew there had been a lot of overs with the Oilers and the Kings in the playoffs. I didn't know it was 15-4 to the over 5.5 in the 19 games. 15-4. I didn't know it was that strong. And boy, oh boy, it adds. That's why when I saw 5.5, and by the way, DraftKings is one of the few books right now at this moment that still has 5.5. So make sure you grab it there or grab it somewhere. You get 5.5. Don't settle for 6. You know, every half goal counts. Every half point in basketball, half run in baseball, half point in football. It matters. So make sure you're getting the 5.5 here with this full game total if you indeed like the over here in this one. Prop wise, Kuzmenko. I'm going back to the Fogue Daddy. Here tonight, Warren Fogle, Quentin Byfield. I like. LaFerriere, I like. Fiala, Kuzmenko. How do you not take Kuzmenko? Kuzmenko's been magic with Kopitar and Kempe right now for this team. So those are props. Edmonton, you got to take Corey Perry tonight. You have to. I mean, he's playing with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, who can often, both of them, make a broomstick look good on the ice. So Corey Perry, is obviously a huge value. Arvidsson, it's the former team angle for him as well, energized, so I don't mind that. Just like we talked about with Fogle. Now with LA, former Oiler, and then Arvidsson now with the Oilers, former LA Kings member. So I don't mind those. There are some great streakers in the shots on goal. LaFerriere, 6 straight over 1.5 shots. Fogle, 4 straight over 1.5 shots. Kempe, 4 straight over 2.5 shots. And against Edmonton specifically, head to head, this guy just, he just shoots the puck. He's a shooting machine when he plays Edmonton. So from that standpoint, Kempe makes sense. Darnell Nurse, believe it or not, has gone over 1.5 shots on goal and 4 straight from the blue line for Edmonton. And it makes sense, right? Top pair, no Ekholm. Maybe more shooting of the puck from Darnell Nurse right now for Edmonton. 3 straight from Byfield over 1.5 shots on goal for him. 2 straight over 2.5 shots on goal for Fiala. So there's some good options here if you like shots on goal. And I know our guy Perlo does. Perlo, what do you think here? Oilers Kings.
Well, you mentioned a ton of them right there, for sure. But we'll just go mostly on the game here. That Los Angeles game, I think it got it out of their head. I'm leaning that it got it out of their head that they can't beat the Oilers in the playoffs. And I know that they got nervous in that third, and that's really what happened there. They were nervous. Oh, we're going to beat the Oilers. And then
There's no doubt. There's no doubt the demons of losing 3 years in a row were creeping into LA in that third period, almost meltdown. Yeah. But the fact they hung on, take a deep breath, and because if they had lost that game, they may lose this. That one loss in game 1, if it happened, Perlo could have lost them the series. That's how catastrophic it would have been losing that game.
Absolutely. And I think you could, it's still kind of there, but it takes the edge off quite a bit. So before I go on here, everybody, believe it or not, I'm an Oilers fan. I'll let you know that now. And usually, you
wouldn't know it from listening to him. Yeah,
you wouldn't know it. No, I agree with you. Putting Klingberg in instead of Brown, that's a desperation move. Brown is really bad. Klingberg is really bad. That's just putting some new legs in there and hoping something happens. Yeah. They are bad defensively. No doubt they're still bad defensively either way that they choose to do there. I don't see one takes anything. Kane, that'll be interesting, but he wasn't good before he went in. Now he was injured. So how healthy is he now? Is he going to be a player? I'm treating him much different than I am Landeskog. I don't think you're going to see too much here. Putting Draisaitl and McDavid on the top line tells you what's going to happen here. That line is going to play like crazy. So look for under points for guys like Hopkins down in the lineup. You can get that at like minus 165 for him not to get a point. To tell you the honest truth, that's good value. He's had 1 goal in 10 games. Like, he is not doing anything right now. So I'm going to go under points for him. But that being said, get back to the game. I know what you're saying about Alex. Like, this is a game that Edmonton will score in the first period, and I think that you're more likely that is more the case than usual. So I'm not going to bet that. But LA at home on first periods are crushing it. It was my best bet last time I was on the show was LA puck line, and I'm just going back to it again. I'm taking LA in regulation. And until I see Skinner look like he can stop a puck, I'm taking team total over for LA at 3.5. That being said, hard to keep McDavid and Draisaitl off the score sheet, so I like the over here as well. And you mentioned all the stats, so give me over 5.5. LA in regulation and money line, bigger on the money line, but I'm going to take them in regulation too, and I'm going to take LA team total over 3.5. I think if it is going to go over, I think I'm looking at LA to get most of the goals here. I think they've been shutting down teams at home, really good teams all year long, and I'm going to bank that they can keep McDavid and Draisaitl off the board a little bit enough here to win this game, more than I can bank Edmonton keeping LA off the score sheet to win the game. So I'm going LA in regulation and money line.
Good stuff. And Jonathan Davis and I were talking about, and I mentioned it, and then he followed up and mentioned it. This is a dilemma game as far as the first period team totals, because LA is on this incredible run of shutting out the opponent, especially at home in the first period. But Edmonton's in the Stanley Cup playoff system, which is 4-1 so far, where they're off a loss, and teams like that score in the first period. So I am still going to look to Edmonton to score in the first, but I'm going to wait just a little bit, because I don't, especially given the conflicting trends and the conflicting systems and angles, I don't want to take Edmonton to score in the first period pregame at -156. I want to wait to see if we get a better price maybe than that during the first period. So that's going to be the approach for me. I will eventually get in on Edmonton to score in the first, but I'm going to wait for a little bit of a better price. Because again, it is 4-1 in the playoffs, and it was this year, and it was profitable last year. The team that lost the previous game scoring a goal in the first period in the next game. All right, good stuff. That's a wrap for the Wednesday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. And a reminder that we've got our live betcast, our first one of the playoffs, tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, April 24th. Make sure you sign up, patreon.com/iceguys. It's your only way to tune in and join us on the betcast by becoming an Ice Guys Patreon member for just $10 a month. Goalie charts, totals charts, our daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. So make sure you check it out. Just $10 per month. Patreon.com/iceguys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Today's the last day where you can save 10% or 3 or more items in your cart at takeout. So you can go hit the redeem button at the home page, add 3 or more items to your cart. 10% will be available at checkout. That is until midnight Eastern. Also, we will have the last, the next special coming up after midnight will be 20% off again. That'll be the last stretch run of that, as we have specials all April long available at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Make sure you check that out at the Ice Guys store. So much great gear and merch. Make sure you check it out at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. One other thing, too, I wanted to point out, the last couple nights, Monday and Tuesday, all the games have been on the ESPN networks. 2 of them tonight are Lightning Panthers, Avalanche Stars. Those are ESPN games, but the Oilers-Kings game is a Turner game. Just make sure you're aware of that. In the U.S., it's a TBS game on the Turner networks for the
a lot
Oilers
of TBS coming up next few days. Everything's shifting kind of over here in the States.
That's TBS. Been the pattern. Early weekend. Yeah, that's been the pattern. Early week games on ESPN during the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then once we get to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you got a lot more Turner involvement than ESPN.
That's why I had to go out and get Sling for $40 a month for that. So I can get everything.
No doubt. So that just be aware of that. Yeah, it's with the Turner for the Oilers and Kings, and ESPN for the other 2 here tonight. All right, we got Bargain Bin Special tonight. Best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Hey, Ian, I got to tell you about this app I've been using lately called Kalshi. Kalshi.com. Did you know it's the only place where you can trade on March Madness in all 50 U.S. states?
I have heard about this, actually. Kalshi is the first and only legal prediction market that lets you trade on real-world events with the look and feel of stock trading, whether it's who will win elections, who will win the Grammy or Oscar awards, or what the price of Bitcoin will hit this year. You can bet you trade on just about anything on Kalshi.
With over 1 million users across all 50 states and over $1 billion worth of trades, Kalshi is an absolute game changer. And with March Madness coming to a close, baseball about to get in the full swing, playoffs on the horizon in hockey and basketball, now's the time to sign up to trade with Kalshi today.
Sign up at kalshi.com/iceguys, and the first 500 traders to join and trade 100 contracts, you will get a free $10 credit added to your account. So don't miss out on all the action. Join Kalshi today at kalshi.com/iceguys. That's kalshi.com/iceguys. Shout out to all our great sponsors. Boston Hemp Inc., 20% off using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. And check out the great trading platform. It's more than just sports at kalshi.com/iceguys. And yes, I misspoke. Not Lightning Panthers tonight. Capitals Habs. Capitals Habs is an ESPN game along with Avalanche and Stars.
I didn't hear that.
I did misspoke.
I thought I did it. I'm usually
Habs
one of
Caps, ESPN. Avalanche Stars, ESPN. And Oilers Kings is a Turner game. TBS here tonight. There you go. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Wednesday. Alex, what do you like for bargain bin special?
Let's go out to the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. You got the Avalanche hosting the Dallas Stars in Game 3 of the we call it, it's just first round now, right? We don't say conference quarterfinals.
Conference quarter, it's not. Yeah, first round. Yeah.
So boring. Anyway, we go with Big Val Nichushkin. I think he's going to have a big game tonight. I did bet him to score anytime goal. That's just plus 210. But I like him to get over 1.5 points. You can get plus 430 on that at FanDuel. Big Val always comes up in big games, especially at home. I think he's going to be there right in the middle of things. So we go with him over 1.5 points. Big Val Nichushkin. Plus 430. That is my Wednesday bargain bin special.
All right. Big Val Nichushkin, Valerie Nichushkin, Colorado, over 1.5 points at plus 430 for Alex with his bargain bin special of the night. Perlo, your bargain bin special.
I got two. One of them is a game play, and one of them is a player play. And you mentioned it, Strome with the assists. He is getting assists like crazy right now, and I think you're going to see goals by Washington. So I'm going to take Strome to get over 1.5 assists, plus 420 or 450s, depends on where you look, is one of them. And the other one I'm looking at is that Colorado game. I love that first period. And if you go on Bet365, you can get three-way spread at -1 for Colorado at +550. I got it at +600. Those are my two bargain bins for today.
Right, there you go. Two bargain bins, and not only a player prop bargain bin, but a alternative line, a bargain bin for Perlo on Colorado for his bargain bin specials of the night. My bargain bin special of the night, and I only have one for you here tonight, but it's Corey Perry for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, as soon as I saw, that he was going to be up there on that top line tonight for the Edmonton Oilers with Connor McDavid, with Leon Draisaitl, pretty much became a no-brainer that we were going to bet him. And you can find +625 at BetMGM for Corey Perry right now to find the back of the net.
Nice.
I mean, playing with Leon and Connor, are you shitting me? To be able to get +625, that is bargain bin special worthy if I've ever fucking seen it. Corey Perry +625 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets for this Wednesday. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, we're going to head out to LA. And like I said, this has been a red-hot Kings team at home early in contests. They've really been a pillar of defense in that part of the contest moving forward. But let's see, I think it's going to be goals here. Edmonton has the press. They have to come out hot. And I like both teams to get a goal here. +170 in the first period. Edmonton and LA, that is my Wednesday best bet.
All right, both teams to score. Oilers Kings for Alex B. Smith in the first period with his best bet. Perlo, best bet.
Oh, geez, there's so many to choose from here. I think I'm just going to keep it simple. I think Colorado gets over 3.5. So I'll take the team total on Colorado over 3.5 goals.
All right, there you go. Colorado team total over 3.5. Best bet for Perlo. Mine, you can cash hopefully the first period, both teams in LA, and you can hopefully cash the full game over as well in LA. Oilers Kings over 5.5 -125. 15-4 in the Stanley Cup playoffs in 19 playoff meetings between these teams the last 3+ years. 15-4 to the over at 5.5. Let's see if we can improve on that tonight. Edmonton, LA over 5.5 -125 for my best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. What a big day tomorrow. Thursday Daily Show and the live betcast for Patreon members. Can't wait. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith and Perlo, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. Back with you tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys.